Okay, geometry, we're going to try to finish off this chapter 6 today. It's raining outside, and so I'm not very motivated to be out in the yard anyway, so let's do this. Chapter 6 is on trapezoids and kites. Kites are kind of a new one. That's a weird one. Trapezoids you probably already know. Trapezoids have two parallel what they call bases and two legs. Okay? So that's a basic trapezoid. Now, if the legs are exactly the same, you know my drawing problems, so I'll try to do this, but let's just say that's the same as that, then that's called an isosceles trapezoid. And Theorem 621 through 623 all have to do with isosceles trapezoids. 621 says that when you have an isosceles trapezoid, these angles are the same as well as these angles. You can call those the base angles. So if it was like that, or if you flip the whole thing over, that would be the base angles. Okay? So don't want to confuse you just because they're on top. So 621, if a trapezoid is isosceles and each pair of base angles is congruent. 622 is the converse of that. If you start by knowing that a pair of angles is congruent on this quadrilateral, then you know it's an isosceles trapezoid. Okay? And 623 is not about the angles. It says that if you have an isosceles trapezoid, then these diagonals are going to be congruent. Okay? So that's all isosceles trapezoids. Okay, so write those down so you have them at your fingertips. Then we go on to 624. In 624, it's on page 471, and it has to do what's called a mid-segment. So, a mid-segment cuts this side in half. So if we split that so that this is going to be the same as that, and we split this one so that that is going to be the same as that, this right here is called the mid-segment. Can you read that if I write that? Mid-segment. It does not have to be just for isosceles trapezoids. Okay? This length could be different than that length, and if you split that and you split that, you get a mid-segment. And Theorem 624 tells you some things about it. It tells you that this mid-segment is parallel to that base and parallel to that base. And furthermore, the length of this mid-segment is exactly, let's call this A, this B, and this C. Okay? So the length of C is exactly A plus B divided by 2. So they show you all that in 624, and that's that. Lastly, there's two more, and these have to do with kites. So these were all trapezoids. A kite. A kite is a little different one, but it's got, so let me draw it. Think of what a kite kind of looks like. It's got two consecutive sides that are congruent. So let me read their definition. A kite is a quadrilateral with exactly two pairs of consecutive congruent sides. So that's consecutive and they're congruent. That's consecutive with that and they're congruent. So 625, it says if a quadrilateral is a kite, then its diagonals are perpendicular. That is going to be perpendicular with that. If a quadrilateral, this is 625. 626 says if a quadrilateral is a kite, then exactly one pair of opposite angles is congruent. It does not say both. You can kind of see that this angle here is not going to be the same as that angle there. But you can probably see that this angle is going to be congruent to this angle. Okay? So 626, there's going to be one pair of congruent angles in a kite. And that's it. I think we have it. We have finished off chapter 6, all about quadrilaterals. Congratulations, and get ready for your test.